I'm Banks.
I am Josh.
Odd places going viral.
Yes, it is. I don't like it, Banks. I don't like the college.
The college.
The college. I don't like it.
Okay, so you don't
need to get rid of it.
You didn't say collar. You said college.
College. Yes, the college.
So
definite article, noun. The college. Yeah.
So you're talking about higher education? Yeah.
No.
No. College. Collagen?
The EC, the Electoral College.
Oh, that college. Wonder what they call it.
It was never done. It was put in place inappropriately to begin with, but it's also completely anti-democratic now. It is not consistent with a democracy. One person, one vote. That's what I say. It's not the case today.
Okay, so history buff, why was it in our Constitution to begin with? Or was it in our Constitution?
It was a compromise. It was a sad, sad compromise that they had to do for the slave states that would actually give them more representation when it came to voting for the president. Because slaves counted as 3/5, they didn't have the right to vote, but they wanted them counted in their population so they would have more electoral votes. That's actually how the Electoral College, it was a compromise.
Okay, so, all right. So we did that, and that was just a bad idea. I mean, it was for the time that we were living in, it was—
And nobody liked it. Nobody really liked it, except Virginia, which I think was like the one slave state at the time when, the 13 states, the 13 colonies. No one really liked it, but it was enough to make everyone unhappy. So that's what a compromise is.
So I'm gonna give you my ignorance, and that is, I thought the idea was that our founding fathers and mothers, I say Betsy Ross was a founding mother. There probably were a lot of founding mothers out there at that time. They and here's my naivety. They believed that groups of people were not, and this is what I thought until you just told me this, groups of people have a mob mentality, and they need to be corralled like donkeys or sheep, and if they collectively, everybody, had one vote, that they would make the wrong decision. If they make the wrong decision, let's make sure we've got it covered with the Electoral College. And that was my view. It was like founding fathers, mothers said, wait a minute, these people don't know what they're doing.
I think that's mostly a myth, actually.
Yeah.
Along with a lot of myths we were taught from what I would just generously called whitewashed history. But anyways, today, let's talk about it today.
Yeah, let's talk about it today. That's where I want to go.
Do we need it? Do we need it? In your opinion, you're into politics. You follow, I think, right? A little bit,
yeah. No, I don't think we need it. I believe in pure democracy. And this is great. This is good stuff. The pure democracy that I'm talking about is, let's say, one vote per person. The most amount of votes wins. Okay.
Pretty simple.
Now I do not know what the argument against that is. The argument against that is that a political party, it has fewer of their political party members, correct? Republicans have less than Democrats. And if that was the case, then the Democrats would win everything, correct?
No, they're actually pretty even.
Okay.
Last time I checked, the Democrats did have a little bit more, but it was like 39% to 35% of the voting population. And independents were actually the largest segment right now.
Oh, wow, that's me. I need to sit farther up in my chair now because,
the argument against it, one of the arguments against getting rid of the EC is that a state like North Dakota with very few residents would have very little influence in the election. But that's true either way. They only have 3 electoral votes. So if you look at the percentage of electoral votes and the percentage of population between every state, they're about the same. They're within 1 or 2%. So that whole argument is debunked anyways.
Okay, so why do we still have it then? We have it because I think it's a political party wants to stay in power, and they know that they can only stay in power. And I'm saying 39 to 35%. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that party gets its people to vote and has stayed in power. And we talked about this earlier about people in power want to stay in power and people not in power want to get into power. So it's this power dynamic that keeps going back and forth until no, it's always been that way, I think. Until what?
Yeah. But what's interesting is every other level of government does popular vote.
You're right.
It's only the president of the United States. It's the same thing. Like, you know what the president is essentially? The president of the U.S. is a governor. It's just a governor. Yeah. It's the same thing as how we elect the governor of Florida, for example.
So I know that in the past there's been a push to alleviate it, to defund it. No, not defund it, to get rid of it.
Yeah,
and it's never gone anywhere. Now, why? Why is that the case that it's never gone anywhere?
Inertia. You get used to it, but I think it's growing. I think the past several elections where we've seen it just not quite work. It wasn't the will of the people. The popular vote and the electoral college vote did not match. I think that happened in 2000. It happened in 2016.
Yeah, it did.
I think we're gonna get rid of it within the next 30 years is my expectation.
I have a brother who does not like term limits, and term limits come and go. I mean, people, they push them, they don't push them. And I know that in our state, I think the Senate, Florida State, and House of Representatives in the state of Florida, they have term limits. They're only in 3 times and then they're out, and they start in the House and then they end up at the Senate, and then they've got to do something else or go somewhere else. How about term limits at the federal level? Because that is kind of like, I mean, it's not electoral college. It is the concept of being a lifelong politician, which I have nothing against that. You want to be a politician your whole...
No, I do have something against that.
Okay, what do you have against it?
Politics is not a career. That is not a job. No way, no how, no sir. And that's why things are so screwed up.
Why?
Politics is because it's a public service.
Okay.
And if you do a public service, you do it for a few years, you go back to the real world. And here's the biggest danger.
Okay.
You're making laws that don't apply to you because you're a representative, you're a politician, but everyone else has to obey those laws. You should have to go back to the private sector and be subject to the laws that you created. Otherwise, we get into a really bad situation.
Okay, so at some point, they do. At some point, the senator who has started off as a county commissioner and gone to a state legislator and gone to a governor and gone to a House of Representatives and gone to a senator, has spent, let's say, 30, 35 years, has at some point decides to retire, and they go out into the real world, I guess, which is what you're talking about. So that does happen. At some point they do. What is wrong with them being a politician? They want to be a politician. Why not? This is America. Why not?
I just think there's really bad consequences to lifelong politicians. Like I said, that's one of them.
Okay, yeah, they make the laws.
I don't think that was the intention. I don't think that was the intention of our founders. I think they saw public service as you go in, you're a private business person, you're an employee, whatever. You go in, you do your service, and then you like jury duty. Like you just go in, you do it, you do the do, you get back out.
All right, okay.
You shouldn't be a professional juror. Sorry, I don't believe in professional juries either.
And it's only like $15 a day, I think. At least that's when I did it. In Israel, I think when you're 21 or 22 or 20 years old, you go into the army or the military for 2 years. You do it for 2 years, and everybody does it. Right. And it's your civic duty. It's your duty to your country. Got it. Totally get it. I don't know, the hurdle that I have tough crossing, and I get your point about they get into office, they make the laws that only pertain to them, which they get a raise so often, and they get, and I see the inconsistency. I see the ugliness of that, the power of that,
Yeah. And when
I get,
you're, yeah,
go ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just say, when you're a career politician, your number one job is to get reelected. It's not to serve the people, because it's your career. If you don't get reelected, you lose your career.
Right.
Nobody wants to lose their career. That's a bad deal, right? So all of a sudden, you're no longer serving the public as your primary objective.
I see the point there. Yeah, I do, you know what? I do view it on your side. However, I mean, what if you're just an incredible public servant? What if you go in there and you're not there just to get reelected? You're there to help the people. Why can't you do that for the rest of your life? And there are people who get elected and want to do that. Service people. How do we
Yeah.
make this money work for everybody? How do we make this country,
Yeah.
this state, this whatever work for everybody? And if that's what you want to do with your life, I am all for it. Now, granted, I get your point about they're getting into office and they just want to stay in office, get reelected every 4, 6 years, 2 years, whatever.
So let's say you're a great politician. Let's say you're awesome.
Okay, you better hurry up.
Okay, let's say you're awesome, and then you go out into the private sector. You can still be awesome. You could be a leader. You can run a company. You can do all kinds of things to use those same skills as you did while you were a politician.
I'm Banks.
I'm Josh.
Odd places going.
I roll.